Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First question says, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. As we know, us true believers are supposed not to join others in worship and obedience with Allah. So are we at fault in living in America and unknowingly or knowingly take part in a corrupt system that goes against the laws and rulings set by Allah? A system that suppresses a majority of people to believe they're lower than others or dishonest about monies being utilized in haram ways, i.e. riba, illegal activities. Also, what is the correct understanding of this hadith? Sayyidina Abdullah bin Umar, Allah be pleased with him, narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu Allah bless him and give him peace, said, "It is necessary upon a Muslim to listen and to obey to the ruler as long as one is not ordered to carry out a sin. If he's commanded to commit a sin, then there is no adherence and no obedience." Sahih Bukhari, number 2796, and Sunan at-Tirmidhi. So, are we as true believers in contradiction as it pertains to this hadith living in the West, where we are part of a horrible system that is only for the gain of a certain class of people? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. First and foremost is, we say that we are believers, insha'Allah ta'ala. Insha'Allah. We don't have doubt about belief in Allah, nor at the same time do we puff out our chests and say we are believers like that. We say, inshallah, we're believers, let alone calling ourselves true believers. That's a heavy claim that we have to be mindful in making. Moving forward, the question, my humble opinion, is yes and no. Yes and no. Are we at fault for certain things? Without a question. Are we a part of certain systems, directly or indirectly? Without a question. If you don't have a haram job, then you work at another institution or another place which is involved with a haram type of income, buying and selling, or it produces and it makes, and so on and so forth. So, I don't sell pork, I don't sell alcohol, but I work in a bank. I work in a bank, I don't touch riba, I'm just a security guard. Can the bank exist without security? Can the bank function without security? I'm a plumber, and we have a job today in the bank. Chase Bank, Capital One Bank. We have construction to do. I'm under contract to make a bank. Can the bank exist without a roof? Can a riba be passed on without a roof, without electricity, without flowing of running water, etc.? Or I don't work in a bank, but I'm in, let's say, police officer. I don't lock up Muslims. I'm not raiding no mosques. I'm not oppressing people. But I've given an oath. I've sworn to uphold a certain type of law, etc. Or I have a tire shop. Okay, and I fix tires, and someone comes into my shop that I know are oppressive kuffar to get a tire. Or I have a government contract. I make compasses and GPS systems for airplanes and aircraft. Or weapons, or clothes, or any other type of thing that's going to be used for the military. And what is the military involved in right now as we speak? So there's always one way or another, some type of, or somehow, some way, something is connected to something. That's not necessarily your fault. You can't control that. But at the same time, how did the Muslims become how they became and live how they lived? Because of the leaders, or because of the subjects in the mass refraining from speaking, keeping silent, being quiet, not giving the advice, not enjoining the good, not forbidding the evil, etc. So it's like a yes and a no answer. You live in a country in which you pay taxes. Where do those taxes go? Where is the military without taxpayers' dollars? Or do those taxes go to support the people that are killing Muslims that aren't in the military? Do those taxes go to Palestine? And the list goes on and on and on. All right? So certain things you're not responsible for. It's not your fault. You can't help. And certain things we can. Certain things we are supposed to do. We are supposed to stand up and take a stance. We are supposed to unite. The Muslims fight. The Muslims argue. The Muslims bicker, etc. So to me, I think it's a relative question, a relative answer. Some things yes, some things no. Now, with regards to living in America, the sheer fact of living as a minority in a non-Muslim country doesn't necessarily mean it's haram or it's your fault. You used to be a Christian. You accepted Islam. I don't have no Middle Eastern culture. I don't have no Pakistani culture. I have no family in West Africa. I'm from Brooklyn. That's where I'm from, born and raised. Or I'm a second generation Muslim. My parents came through Islam or Dar Islam movement or the Nation movement or the Clarence 13th, whatever movement. And then came Islam, so on and so forth. And the different type of dawahs and movements that happened after that and after that and after that and after that that spawned and spawned and spawned. And then I came up and I was raised on some type of, inshallah, correct Islam. It's not, I can't control, this is my culture, this is my background. But can you make hijrah? Do you have an intention to make hijrah? Etc. So I think it has to be details in this answer. And I think there's a difference between someone who's an immigrant and someone who's born and raised, someone who's trying to practice, someone who isn't trying to practice, etc. There's details. There has to be details, and Allah knows best. Next question says, and last but not least, is if you live somewhere, or you live in some type of regime or under some type of government, it doesn't mean that you have to be pleased with it. It doesn't mean that you have to agree and that you support it. So at the end of the day, the bottom line is that there must be details. And Allah knows best. Moving forward. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Question 2 says, may Allah guide you and keep you firmly guided, and may Allah bless you, Sheikh. Is it haram to play the lottery to help pay on student loans since it's haram money paying haram? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah bless you as well. Thank you very much for your dua. Ameen to that dua. Gambling is haram in Islam, as Allah Azza wa Jal has clearly forbade us in the Quran al-Kareem. Alcohol and intoxicants and these types of games of chance are from the handiwork of Satan. Allah says, "Fajtanibuhu," avoid it, stay away from it. Tayyib. So with that being said, it's haram to gamble. And it remains haram to gamble even to pay off one's debt. Unless it's an absolute necessity. An absolute necessity. And if it isn't an absolute life or death necessity, then it's haram and it remains haram no matter what the debt is. Allah knows best. Just because it's haram debt doesn't mean that you can do more haram and add to it and get rid of the haram debt. Doesn't mean that. What's important is, I think question 2 is pertaining to question 1 with regards to the lifestyle that we live. And oftentimes, we've allowed the kuffar to dictate and to determine to us the proper or improper lifestyle. You have to go to college. You got to go to college. You have to go to college. Having a vocational skill. No, you have to get a white collar job. Go to college. How do I go to college unless I pay those loans or take those loans with interest, etc.? Muslim businesses, Muslim infrastructure. Okay, entrepreneurship. And the list goes on and on and on. Allahul Musta'an. Question 3 says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, inshallah, and has to do with the previous question. Sheikh says here, may Allah reward you for your efforts. Is in case of the sister who took out loans before she reverted to Islam, is her debt zakat payable? Anyone who has debt and they have a difficulty in paying off that debt, then it's suitable for them to receive zakah. It is suitable for them to receive zakah. Alright? Before Islam, after Islam, we have to be mindful of one thing, and that is that we live in a secular world. And just because the debt is haram for one reason or another, doesn't mean that you don't have to pay it off. Doesn't mean that you can take money from someone and not give it back. Doesn't mean that you just ignore the debt. It's not going to hurt you and harm you in the future. And you may be forced to take out even more debt and have even more difficulties in the future financially. So we have to be mindful of this. And Allah knows best. Question 4. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, can this question be sent to the Sheikh? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sheikh, may Allah bless you and your family with good in this world and in hereafter, and protect you and your family from all evils in this world and hereafter. My question is, what is the criteria for becoming an Imam, or it says Iman, Wakil, or an Amir? What are their responsibilities? Is there a vote to determine an imam? Is there an assistant imam? And finally, if the imam steps down, who fills for the imam? Note, I'm sending this question to you for someone else that wants to send the information to someone that is incarcerated. Jazakallahu khairan. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Barakallahu fiqh. With regards to being an imam with a meme or an M in English, an imam, or a wakil or an amir, then some of these terms are synonymous and some of them aren't. Someone who's an imam of a community or a masjid, or of a masjid and a community, at the same time is also like an amir. He's similar to an amir. But the word amir could be used meaning on a higher scale, like a prince, okay, a king, a sultan, all right, a chief, okay, or it could just it could mean the emir of the masjid, the leader of the masjid. As the sister said, commander-in-chief, the one who makes the executive decisions. Of course, he consults and seeks the shura of the masjid, but he's in charge. We say the head honcho. So he may be the emir and the imam, or he may just be the imam. Also a wakil. Perhaps sister means like a wali in marriage, in which sometimes the imam of the masjid is also the one who has the sisters that he looks after, marrying them off, finding them a good husband, counseling them, helping them, supporting them financially, physically, whatever he can. A widow sister, an orphan sister, etc. But once again, there may be an imam of a masjid, the mir of the masjid, and a wakil. There may be 3 different slots, 3 different positions. So sometimes they're synonymous and other times they aren't. What's important is if a person is going to be the imam of a masjid, then the first condition is they have to be a Muslim. And after them being a Muslim, they have to have knowledge of the deen. They must have fiqh fit deen. Not a good speaker, not handsome, charismatic, not a good fighter, can knock people out. He's the best fight game here. He's well known. He was the champion boxer in prison or in New York or Brooklyn. La. He has to have fiqh fit deen, knowledge of the religion. Solid, hardcore knowledge of the religion. Not a couple of books I read when I was locked up. I went to a couple of seminars. No, la. Fiqh fit deen, actual knowledge of the religion. The Quran, the Hadith, the fiqh, the Aqidah, the tafsir, etc. Can he speak? Does he have to speak? Not necessarily. He doesn't have to be the reciter. He doesn't have to be the khatib. But the imam of the masjid is the one who's looking over the religious issues. He has to have knowledge of the deen. He has to be someone who's trustworthy, someone who has a good religion, someone who has some type of piety and righteousness, someone who has some type of integrity, someone who has some type of physical strength as well. And the leader of the community should also be charismatic. They should be a good people person. They should be someone that has charm. They should be someone who can stand up for the truth, someone who's physically strong, mentally strong, someone who has some type of willpower, someone who isn't intimidated, someone who isn't naive and foolish and gullible. These are all conditions for an imam of a community. And if you can't fulfill those conditions, then you shouldn't be that imam. Obviously, these things differ from person to person. And a person may be so strong in one thing, it may outweigh or trump the other deficiencies and shortcomings. A person may be so charismatic that they don't have to have as much fiqh, whereas they can rely on other people, but they know how to run the place. And a person may have so much ilm, and they may not be as charismatic or economically savvy or whatever the case may be. They know how to, wahakadha. As far as an emir, then it depends on the community and what you mean by an emir. Someone give you the Pledge of Allegiance. Is that permissible in America? Or you being the one who's in charge of this community? Now, someone who you consider to be your amir, you're giving them the oath of allegiance in general, meaning I'm loyal to you. I'll come to the masjid. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to serve you. You're my sheikh. You're my imam. You look after us. You're there for us when we need you. So it's only right for me to be there for you when you need me. And you have my oath. That's one thing. As far as the bay'ah, like a person is an actual ruler and a leader with government powers, then that's a discussion in itself. Is it haram or not? Do the Muslims have this type of community set up? Is there infrastructure? The Muslims have land. We have a compound. We have schools. We have security. We have patrols. That maybe, maybe not. It depends. That's a detailed discussion. As far as the wakil, or it's meant by being in charge of a sister for marriage, then the brother doesn't have to be a scholar. but he should have some basic knowledge of the religion. I personally feel that the brother himself should be married. And if and my humble opinion is that if he has more than one wife, then that's best. I humbly feel if a brother has more than one wife, that's even better for him to be the wali of a sister. More than one wife, not just one wife, but two wives. He should have children. He should have a family. He should be a family man. He should be a brother who's well established to be in a full-time, healthy, working relationship with another woman, a Muslim woman. That's what I feel is important. The wali should also be someone who has some type of financial stability. It doesn't have to be rich, but it can be someone who's poor, who has no money, that can be easily moved and influenced by money, or easily moved and influenced by women and seduced and led into a scandal. He should be someone who has children, someone who has some type of stability, and most importantly, some type of liability. Who is this brother? Who is he? Who are you? I'm Fulan, and brother, he comes to the masjid. Yeah, I'm Sister Fulan's Wakil. Who are you? I don't know you. Never even heard of you. And most importantly, sister, why is this brother your wali? When the masjid is full of people that we see every day, we know every day, this brother Fulan, for years we've known this brother. He's not your wali, but you get somebody that no one even knows to be your wali. What type of thinking do we have here? And then something goes wrong, you marry off to some type of tyrant or monster, then you come crying back at the masjid. He married you off. Why didn't you seek my help from the beginning? Why did you go there? Why didn't you come here to me first? I can't help you. You went off, you married someone that nobody knows. Your wakil was unknown, or he was known not for being a responsible brother, a good brother, an upright brother, with some type of rape case or this issue or that issue. You brought that harm upon yourself, ukhti. May Allah help you. I can't unravel the problem that you wound yourself up in. So the wali should be known, and it should be a liability. Brother Munir is my wali. He did something wrong. We can trace Brother Munir. These are the brothers he works with. These are the people in charge of the masjid. We know him. We can trace him down. We can track him down and find out where he's hiding. Where did he go? And not some out of the blue brother that has no liability. So he should be pious. He should be righteous. And he should be responsible. And Allah knows best. Next question says, or the next part says, what are the responsibilities? And there's their vote, etc. That's a long lecture in itself. The basic responsibilities of the Imam, it depends on his contract, depends on his agreement. If he agrees to lead all the salats, to give the khutbahs, to do the classes, to help out the marital concepts or the marital problems, sitting, advising them, that's one thing. Or he may just be a resident scholar. I don't do no class. I don't do no khutbahs. I don't need the salat. I just give the talks and I help out. I answer people's questions. They come into my office. Depending on the situation. The Amir has to look after the money, the finances, the well-being of the people. If there's someone being oppressed physically, he's supposed to do what needs to be done to make sure that the Muslims are not being harmed and oppressed, etc. And the wali is supposed to find a good brother for the sister. He's supposed to facilitate the meetings, the sit-downs, the dinner dates, whatever's needed to make the thing work, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, for a good, pleasing marriage to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Last question says, Assalamu alaikum, or it says here, the last question says, as a Muslim woman, how should we feel about Muslim designers being in major department stores such as Macy's selling modest clothing? While it doesn't meet the criteria of hijab, jilbab, is it more modest than what we're used to seeing? Barakallahu fikum. What's important is there are levels of Islam and there are levels of Iman. For you to think that every single Muslim is going to be on this level, it's very naive. To think that every Muslim has the same understanding of the deen, the same school of thought of the deen, living in America as minorities, a revert Muslim, an indigenous Muslim. The sister is, as they say, she's Hispanic, or she is black, or she's white, born and raised in America, versus a sister that comes from Pakistan, a sister that comes from Guinea, a sister that comes from Ivory Coast, a sister that comes from Egypt. There will be different schools of thought, different understandings of the deen. How do we practice Islam, so on and so forth. So someone who's proud to be a Muslim, who has some Muslim identity, even if it's a fashionable hijab, but they're actually wearing a khimar, or some type of long shirt, or some type of dress with flared arms, and this is better than nothing. It's better than tight jeans. It's better than their skin being out. And you have to realize this. Everyone is not going to walk around with a black hijab on with their gloves, with their hands and their face covered. That's unrealistic. They're not. Everyone is not going to do that. Everyone doesn't want to do that. Everyone doesn't have that same understanding of hijab, let alone practice, etc. So there are plenty of people who are afraid to be identified as Muslims today, and scared, and insecure. And alhamdulillah, there are certain Muslims that are proud to be Muslims. And this is a hijab tutorial, a makeup tutorial. This is how you do this, and this is how you wear the hijab and be fashionable. That's better than nothing, without a question. Is it correct? Is it according to the sunnah? Not necessarily. Give them advice if you can, speak to them if you can, but it's better than nothing. And we have to realize that the Muslims, whether we like it or not, we're all under siege. Everyone is under attack. Muslim, Islam. Extreme Muslim, Wahhabi Muslim, this Muslim, that Muslim. On one level or another, they see Muslim, Islam. Certain kuffar understand these are the extreme Wahhabi Muslims, fundamentalists, and others don't. But at the end of the day, with certain non-Muslims, you are under attack, period. So you have to realize that. And Muslims that have weak faith or a little bit of fiqh in the deen and things like this, for them to come a bit closer to the truth is better than them being absolutely remote from the truth. So I think this situation involves the hikmah. You dress according to what you feel is correct, what you've studied, what you've been taught, what you've learned. If you have the ability to teach someone, to give someone dawah, then do so. And if not, alhamdulillah, try your best to find the good in every situation. Allah Azza wa Jalla surely knows best. May He, the Most High, help us as Muslims living in this country in 2018 and allow us to have true understanding of His deen and firmness thereupon, and allow us to represent it. Bidnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jazakumullahu khairan. This will conclude our Q&A session for tonight. If there's a question that we missed, it says question 5. How do you deal with someone that treats you as if you're a fitna that they must avoid? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you are a fitna that they must avoid. Maybe you are. To them, in their eyes, I don't know. Allahu alam. There may be a sister who's a backbiter, a scandal monger. She's ghiba. It's a ghiba monster. She's always making ghiba, talking about people, namima, spreading tales. And a sister that she knows about this and she tries to avoid you. Maybe she has to avoid you. And if you aren't a fitna monger or a scandal monger, and the sister still treats you like that, then ask her why. And if she doesn't want to treat you better, then khair. Jazakallah khairan. Tayyib. You have your way, I have mine. We meet in the hereafter. There are plenty of Muslims, there are plenty of masjids. If one person doesn't want to be your friend, it's not the end of the world. But you have to look at yourself and your own actions. Oftentimes, people, they don't reflect. And they're not critical upon themselves. Why does this brother treat me like this? Why does this sister treat me like this? Why does my husband treat me like this? Maybe it's because of something that you're doing. Maybe it's something that in your approach, Allahu alam, you have to investigate all of that and then act accordingly. What's important is if someone treats you like that, if it's your fault, then try to rectify it. And if it isn't your fault and you're being treated unjustly, then have sabr, make dua for that person, and continue to be good to that person as a Muslim, and perhaps that goodness will soften their heart. And if not, then one person not being your friend or not treating you the way that you feel that you need to be treated is at the end of this dunya. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.